Good afternoon, folks. How is everyone today?
Good.
Give me half a moment here. We'll get started soon. We've still got another minute or so. Okay, I guess it's that time. Couple of things. So I have breakout rooms for everybody. Now, I've also had some people that have asked me some questions concerning mongoose and getting that to talk properly with their database, how to actually deal with some of that stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the breakout rooms, and people are free to go into their breakout rooms if they are good and just need to work on stuff. If, however, you are in a situation where you need a little refresher on how mongoose is actually saving stuff to the database and that sort of thing, then feel free to hang around. Just stay in the main meeting room while I go over that stuff. Is that fair and reasonable? Cool. Okay. So I'm going to open the rooms. Dustin, did you just read the participation? I'm glad I brought that smile to your face. Anyway, so let me go ahead and open things up. And so again, for those that just came in, you are welcome to stay here. I'm going to talk a bit about how to use mongoose, how mongoose is actually talking to the database, and we'll look at the express MongoDB code that we did before. And if you have questions, great. If not, then feel free to head on into your room. So let me open those up. And either let's go to work or let's cover things here. Some of you just came in. Let me get you assigned real quickly before I start going into my talks about other things. So let's see. Kia goes into group 5. Okay, so I'm going to talk about mongoose a bit for anyone that would like to hang around. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, let's see. Eric, I am doing fine, by the way. Oh, I guess that's Joe asking you that. Never mind. Okay, so let's talk about the Express Mongo stuff. This is the demo that we did in class. Feel free to ask questions. I don't mind people interrupting. Oh, thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. So anyway, really the magic of talking to the database, all of that happens in routes.js. And I've commented out my code that talks to Mongo Atlas, but this is the line of code. We talked about that in detail. Do I need to cover that again, or do you all have that pretty well? So let's see, for login, do we need a where statement for our database finding a match on the username and password? So ultimately what you need to do is you would match the username. You would find the username. In my code here, I'm only finding stuff using using the ID with find by ID. And I've also got a regular find which finds everyone. What you ultimately want to do is you want to be able to find an individual person based on a particular record other than, or a particular field other than the ID. So I will show you some resources. I think, did I put any resources in the assignment itself? I often put a link there. Oh, maybe I didn't. Okay. So if you do a little bit of search, let's do Node.js, mongoose. There is actually a whole bunch of information talking about setting it up, but there's also a little bit here about specifics in finding things by fields. So you've got a whole queries section that I think find one hint is something that will help you out a whole lot. I tell you what, I'm going to add this. Oops, that's wrong class. That page will show you your different queries. Charlie, does that give you a good place to look? I think you'll find that those queries will help you out a lot. The find one is really the one that you're looking for. Anyway. Okay, so several people asked me some questions about how we're actually saving stuff to the database. And really, we do it exactly the same way that we did it in this demo. We're creating user accounts, but instead of name, age, species, image URL, and victims, you would have all the important login information, name, username maybe, email, password, which you're going to encrypt before you save it using bcrypt, and then the answers to the different questions that they have, right? Because they've got 3 multiple choice questions. And so you would set up your schema to store that information instead of what we have here. And the important places to look for saving stuff, we have create, and create ultimately is just loading the create pug page, which that's your form, your submission form for creating a new individual. And we can look at that real quick. And so that's just a form. The important things here, remember to have your ID, make sure your method is post, and your action is going to be /create, because /create is going to be handled by our app.post /create. And we make sure we use our parser. And then to actually take that data and save it to the database, that's being done in routes create person, which is right here. Now, routes create person is not doing a whole lot. It doesn't need to. The first thing it's doing is it's creating an object, a new person, and we have defined person as using this schema. So it's looking for all of this information. And so it's taking that from the data or from the form submission, that rec.body.name, age. In your case, you'd be doing password or email and password. For password, it would be right in here that you would go ahead and take your data from rec.body.password and you would run it through bcrypt.js and you'd encrypt it. And so you build out all the data that's getting submitted for one person. You don't have to put ID in there. It automatically will assign an ID. And then you do a person.save and check for errors. And then this is redirecting back to the home page. You can have it redirect to whatever page you want. But this is really what's saving all of it. And it's just checking for an error. Technically, you don't have to check for an error. It's a really good idea to. And you don't have to console log anything either. But the person.save is taking care of all of that for you. It's saving this information to the database. But you have to basically build your new person so that it matches all of the data from the schema that you set up. Does that make sense? Annabelle, you look like you've got a question there, or just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I need to do it myself to
Okay.
get an understanding.
Were you here when we actually coded this part up?
Yeah, I think I have a safe somewhere. Just don't remember it really well.
So really, there are only a few parts. This is all about connecting and making sure you don't have an error when you connect to the database. This part is setting up essentially all of your fields for your table, to use SQL terminology.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So for each person that we're entering, these are the things that we're going to store. And it's easiest just to store them all as strings. It's fine. And so we set up our schema, which is basically saying what all the fields are that we have. And we get the information from our form submission, and we plug them into the different variables, and those variables match up with the variables that you have in the schema. And remember, since we're using the body parser, we get those that form data in a request.body. And this name comes from the form. So if we go back and we look at the create form, we can see we've got name and age and species and image URL. So that's where it's getting that rec.body and all of those variables. That's coming directly from these the form names, the names on the inputs.
Okay.
And so it's taking that and it's plugging them into these variables, because this is just a big JavaScript object here that's being passed into our new person. And person is defined as the people collection. And people collection is basically your full table.
Hey, Mr. Beatty.
Yes.
I believe Kagan was wanting to go back in his breakout room in chat.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I missed that. Let's see. Which room are you in? You're in room 2. So I'm going to send you there. Okay. So essentially, we build our person that has all of our fields covered, and then we just save it. And it's that easy with Mongoose to save it to the database, and it will do all the fancy stuff that it needs to under the hood.
Yeah.
Make sure it saves.
All right.
And edit, when we edit a person, we need all the same data. So we find, in this case, we're finding the person by ID, but you can use find one to find someone by something other than ID if you want to. And it's getting the ID from the parameters that we pass in. And so it's getting that from the actual query. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Sure. No.
Okay, I'll tell you what, let me go and run this stuff. Let's see what I got here. So we got leftovers from front end. Let me open up a new folder. Okay, so in class, interactive web dev, node, express Mongo. Okay, so I'm going to run my local database. And so that's running right here now. I'm going to go ahead also and do CMD. And I'll start nodemon. So I've got my database running. You won't need the database running because you've already got it on Atlas, but since I'm running locally now, that just is easier. So let's go to localhost 3000, and here's my database. The way the edit works is if I edit someone, I'm gonna shrink this down a little bit. Notice when I roll over edit, take a look what it's doing down at the bottom. Take a look at the path that leads to. So if I were to edit Sally, you'll see, do you see the path that it wants to go to?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's localhost :3000/edit/ and a whole lot of garbage. And that garbage, if you look at it, is actually Sally's ID.
All right.
See how those are matching up?
Yeah.
And so what I'm doing here, if we go and we look at our index.js for edit, we've got for the get /edit/:ID. And I do the same thing with my post, but we don't need to worry about the post yet. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm looking for /edit/:ID. So the way this works is, if I really wanted to, I could manually do like /edit/ and I could copy that right there. And that's going to let me edit Diane. And so it has all of Diane's information. And so the reason that works is because it takes that information and it gets that ID from the path and it plugs it in and says, okay, go find by ID using this ID that it gets from the path. And once you do that, you're going to get person, and you're going to pass that into Pug so that we can use it in Pug. And here's the edit form here. And you'll notice it's automatically populating the values with person name, person age, so that when we go to edit, it looks just like the create form, except it goes ahead and populates it with the person's existing information.
I see now. Okay.
Kind of cool, huh?
Yeah.
And in truth, delete works in a very similar manner. When I hit the delete button, if we look, let's say Diane accidentally kills someone. Sorry. If you delete, when you roll over, you'll see down at the bottom, the path is localhost:3000/delete/ the ID name of that individual, the ID of that individual. And so when we delete, we just say, okay, find by ID and remove. And we go and we get the ID from the path, and it will automatically remove that record.
Oh, okay.
Kind of cool?
Yeah.
Mongoose is handling a lot of the heavy lifting for us. You'll notice the actual edit person when you submit the form. It's very similar. We are defining person name, age, species based on the form. And then we just do a person.save again, just like we did with the create person. So interacting with the database isn't all that hard. When we edit a person, we don't actually just edit one field. We kind of rebuild the person and then just save over it. And it lets us do it because we found the person by the ID, so it just saves over that ID.
Okay.
What other questions do you have?
It's easier for me to read what's going on your end. They have this like parentheses. It switches color depending on the level. How did you get that going?
Let's see. That's a good question. I have several extensions installed. Let's see. I am guessing, though, probably the bracket pair colorizer.
Okay.
Or, oh, apparently, I didn't install all of these. Some of these got installed for me when I installed something else. Try the bracket pair colorizer 2, I think is what I'm using. And you'll see it matches up. Takes those, so at different levels, it's easier to see where you're at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bracket paralyzed. All right. Let's see. And does it just apply it automatically?
Yes.
All right. Okay, that's better.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, not for now. I'm gonna try this out now.
All right. You should be able to jump in your room on your own. I'm afraid none of your teammates are here.
Nah, one of them is sick, and the other one has parent stuff.
Okay. Well, good luck. And let me know if you have any more questions.
All right, thanks, Mr. Beatty.
You're welcome. Charlie, are you good? Charlie, you there?
Yeah, I'll head to my breakout room right now.
What was that?
I'll join my breakout room right now.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
good.
Do you have any other questions or anything? Everything makes sense?
I just looked behind to see if maybe there was something else, but I think so far I just needed the login for the find one.
Okay. All right. Good luck to you then.
Just look at that and then commit the merges there.
Okay, folks. We are about out of time. Hopefully, a lot of progress happened. Remember, tomorrow, my classes I have canceled and I have moved my office hours. Instead of being from 7 to 8, I will be available tomorrow from 9 to noon. So 3 hours that you can get help. Feel free to just jump on in. Use the Zoom ID that I use for my office hours. Let me throw that in chat real quick. Right there. So I've met with almost all of you in one-on-ones. There are a couple I haven't. Dustin, I don't think I have met with you yet. And let's see. Mara, I don't think I've met with you yet, but I think you two are the only ones here today that I haven't met with. But I'll meet with you guys on Monday. Fair enough? All right. If I don't see you tomorrow for extra help, feel free to come in at any time, though. It's just, help with whatever you need. But if I don't see you all tomorrow, then have a great weekend. Do cool things. Get this thing looking awesome. Oh, do the participation real quick if you haven't already. I know Dustin did because I saw him laughing. But anyway, please do that and then have a good day.